Hey, this is David Owen.
And this is Marian Cowigowen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, a podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and television that they loved before the first date. And this time, I was made to watch The Cutting Edge.
Yep. We're finally doing it, you guys. We're talking about The Cutting Edge, which is really a movie that makes up a large, or this movie has contributed, I should say, a large portion of my quotable line database. Which is not to say that I quote this movie all the time, but of all the, you know how like you watch a movie and you're like, I'm going to save that line and say it sometime and everyone will get it and I'll be great. Many of the entries in my database are from this movie because it is incredibly quotable and it is so cheesy, and it is, as many of the movies I love are, it's not a good movie, but it's a great movie.
Oh, yeah.
We have mentioned before, Dave, you've seen this. Many times. Why? Can you explain for those who are catching up?
Yes. This is another Rachel movie, as was your last movie, Newsies.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a period of like 10 years where I had a stepbrother and stepsister, and the stepsister was about my same age. And so which, you know, for those who don't know, Marian and I are separated by 2 years, but we're still, you know, approximately the same age. So a lot of the female milestones that Marian would have gone through, I experienced because of my then stepsister. New Kids on the Block, Newsies,
Mm-hmm.
The Cutting Edge, these sorts of things were all part of my childhood, whether I wanted them to be or not.
I don't think you guys were in touch when My Soul Called Life came out, but that seems like something she would have really loved.
No, we were. I feel like we were. I mean, I remember, maybe not. It's hard to say.
Okay.
I was in touch with them right up until maybe 16, 17. I think the last time I saw them was maybe I think I was like 18.
Well, by in touch with, I mean having to share a TV screen.
Yes. Certainly wasn't having to share a television at that time.
But yes. Very often when I tell Dave something and I think I'm introducing it to him as like, well, this is what girls were doing in the 90s. This is, I know about that because of Rachel. So we are convinced that if Rachel and I were to meet, we would be BFFs. Probably. If you out there are Rachel, please get in touch. I think we have a tailor-made friendship that you can just step into, because that's not weird at all.
No.
Yeah. So, but in the meantime, we're going to talk about The Cutting Edge, which Dave has seen probably not as many times as me.
But I would say I would put it somewhere in the realm of high single to low double digits, like 10 or 11 at most. Like all the way through, I've definitely watched it front to back at least half a dozen times.
Yeah, I think we're approaching the 20s for me. And you can tell because when we watched it the other day, I was saying a good third of the lines along with or before the characters. Some of the ones that weren't even really all that funny, but I just have the patter memorized. So for those who don't know what movie we are talking about, this is a romantic sports movie. It's kind of an enemies to lovers trope.
Yeah.
There is possibly some literary grounding. I'm not, and we'll explain that in a second. Kate Mosley, played by Moira Kelly, who you may know, she was in the Dorothy Day biopic that we talked about a while back, and she was on The West Wing, and she was on One Tree Hill, and I don't know what else. Kate is a figure skater who is temperamental. She's so skilled, but as her coach says, always is coming the big B. What a bitch. And he says this to her father, who was just like, it's like, I know. Yeah. And she was at the Olympics. So first of all, this came out in 1992, and the opener is taking place at the 88 Olympics, which, if you recall, if you were alive at the time, was in Calgary, Canada. Not that matters. It's just I like to show off my knowledge of the Olympics.
Ooh.
And the 92 ones were in Albertville, France. And if you're like, no, the 92 Olympics were in Barcelona. Yes, they were. Those were the Summer Olympics. at that point, children, we had Summer and Winter Olympics in the same year.
Wow.
And then they switched it. And then in 94, the Winter Games were in Lillehammer, Norway. And then they were on an alternate schedule.
Yeah.
But in these halcyon days, we had both Olympics in the same year. We had both Olympics, and in the US, we had the presidential election, and it was just so much.
Too much.
And then a 3-year drought of nothing. So we've changed it. And now, certainly with US politics, there's no reason to pay attention except in an election year. There's nothing going on.
No.
Anyway, so in the opening of the movie, Kate is competing in pairs figure skating at the Olympics, and there's some tragic misstep in the final seconds of her pairs program, and she falls and very dramatically was expected to medal, and nothing happens. She has a sort of not really a meet cute, like a meet hate, I guess, in a corridor with Doug Dorsey, played by D.B. Sweeney, who you might know from nothing. I don't know. He was in Memphis Belle. He was in something else. Like he's just.
Yeah, he was in stuff. Like he was the kind of guy that like if you said his name at any point in the 90s, people would have been like, oh yeah, like Crispin Glover. Like that kind of thing. Like, oh yeah. No, I know the thing he was in.
He was, he's kind of disappeared a little bit. He always the wrestler that you used to watch, John something. I can't remember his name, so that doesn't help. Anyway, he looked like D.B. Sweeney. Guy who always wore A shirts.
Now I just want to know. John something.
John?
Oh, Moxley?
Yes.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Maybe younger, sure, I can see it.
Anyway.
You probably haven't seen John Moxley in a while.
True. So anyway, he's not doing very much these days, but he was popular enough in the 90s that I remember he showed up in my copy of Teen Beat.
Oh yeah.
At one point, which means he was either dreamy or he had a really good publicist who was like, "You will put this in there. I won't give you New Kids on the Block if you don't put Sweeney in there." Also, anyway, he's running late to a match and he's running in the tunnels. And in this universe, hockey and figure skating use the same arena, or at least the same complex, which I don't think is actually true.
I don't want to derail this too much, but I do want to bring up my favorite joke in the movie.
Yeah.
That happens at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
When the alarm doesn't go off and he says, "Yeah, alarm for 9."
Because he's had a one-night stand with a German.
And she says, right, 9 alarm.
Yeah.
Because 9 means no in German.
That's you have to be pretty smart to get that.
Right, I know. Most people don't get that.
Thank you for pointing it out.
No problem. I've seen this movie a lot. I know that's the first time. You're like, oh, that was a joke. Yeah. That's my favorite joke in the whole movie.
And then he can't remember her name because that's funny.
Because he's a womanizer.
So he's late. He's getting to the rink as well, and someone pointed out on IMDb or whatever, they're playing the national anthem as the match is starting, which is not how it works. How the
Olympics work, yeah.
But okay, he's getting there as it's starting, and I was like, you might as well just sit down because they're not going to play you at this point. But evidently, he's that good. He gets away with it. Yes, he's the. As he says later, I was a hockey player. They revered me. So they have a literal collision in the hallway, and he's running to get somewhere, so he doesn't help her up, and she yells at him for not being a gentleman, and he's hated at first sight. But then they don't remember each other later, so whatever.
Yeah.
In that match, he's injured by he's slammed into the boards, and it honestly, like, I've seen enough hockey matches to know that getting slammed into the boards happens frequently, but evidently this is
his helmet fell off, Marion.
After he was pushed into the boards.
But then he was hit multiple times.
Okay, sure.
Multiple different people slammed into him without a helmet.
Sure. Those helmets, though, they look very flimsy. Like, I would not think that would protect you much.
Nothing?
Yes, but apparently not. But anyway, whatever.
Well, apparently so, because the helmet fell off, and that's how he got injured.
Sure, if you say so. It's all very dramatic. You see the helmet spinning around, and I always have a split second because it's his number is on the outside in red, and I always see it through, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is that blood?
Yeah.
No, it's just red through the other side. It turns out that he had what do they say? Severe trauma to your occipital lobe. I don't know what that is, but the doctor helpfully explains he's lost 18 degrees of peripheral vision in his right eye, which for a normal person is no big deal, but for a hockey player is career ending.
You'll never skate again,
Yes.
Doug.
And Doug's like, no, this is fixable, right? And the doctor's like, no. And Doug says, this is one of my quotable lines. Well, you don't do it here, but you go down to Mexico and they shoot shark piss up your nose and you sit in traction for 8 months. Excellent. And there, I remember using that line exactly, talking about what I would have done to get my acne cured. I would have done that. I didn't need to. I took a toxic medication that messed up my liver for life, but I don't have acne now, so it's fine. Anyway, he says that like, oh, it's fine. The doctor's like, no, I'm sorry, it's not fixable. Your hockey career is over. So they had this run in. And then they both had their dreams dashed. And what are we going to do now? I don't know. Cut to 2 years later, so 1990, if you're paying attention. And Doug is living with his older brother who owns a hockey-themed bar. It's somewhere in
Minnesota,
rural northern Minnesota. And he's working in, it looked like a construction site. Later they said a factory, but some manual
kind of
is the
manual
point.
labor.
And he's playing hockey in a bar league, and he's very devoted to that. But his brother's like, you're not doing anything, and all the
his
NHL
brother who has a Minnesota accent that
Doug
has
not,
no trace of whatsoever.
Yeah. And I don't know, and there's never any mention of parents or anything else, and like the brother looks old enough to be his dad.
Yeah.
The brother clearly has had a rough life.
Yes.
So if you told me that they were brothers, I'd be like, yes, there's a big age gap, and this guy had a rough life. Yeah. But if you told me it was his dad, okay, I'd also believe that too.
Yeah.
And all the NHL teams are writing to Doug to be like, thank you for your interest, but no, we like people who have 100% of peripheral vision.
Yeah.
Or as Walter is his name, which is great. Walter describes it as, "Dear Doug, sorry about the eye. Go piss up a rope," which I enjoy. And Doug, give me that letter. Give me that letter. Give me that goddamn letter. Because he's so masculine and he's got so much rage, And Walter is just like, "I'm not making you a sandwich. Go make it yourself." And stalks off in this like, what's that called? A bow-legged thing. I'm like, what? Are you a cowboy too? Why are you walking like that?
That's how working people walk, Mary.
I suppose it's very elitist to have your hips together. I don't know. So meanwhile, Kate has been trying to find a new partner, and all of her potential partners suck. I don't know how. I kind of. This is where, like, I always want to learn how all these subcultures work. I would have loved to see the process of how you match up pair skaters.
Uh-huh.
Is it just you're geographically nearby each other?
No, probably not.
Is there like a height thing? Is there a style thing? Is it someone who knows someone? Like, how does this work? But so we find out nothing about that. I would have loved to get more of the inside of how all this skating stuff works. But all we know is that she's been through, umpteen partners, and has one right there who is like trying to spin and is overcome and has to sit down. He has the vapors. He has to sit down on the ice. So like clearly this guy is like 12 and not ready for this.
Yeah.
So her father, Jack, which cracks me up. I don't think anyone went by Jack in the 90s.
Jack. I knew some Jacks.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That feels
I have
like
a great uncle named Jack.
Okay. That feels like it feels like a very old phenomenon and then a very recent phenomenon. But I feel like there was a period where nobody was Jack and nobody also was Will. And nobody went by James either. It was all Jim or Jimmy.
Maybe. Nicknames
cycle is my point. Anyway, whatever. Her dad is played by Terry O'Quinn. From Lost and I don't know what else.
A lot of other things.
Yeah, and has an excellent pencil thin mustache here. It's marvelous.
Yeah,
to the point that when I see him with different facial hair, I'm always like, who is that? That's not. No.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah. It's very fitting.
Yes.
Very very well groomed.
Yes. And her current coach, who is new since the debacle at the Olympics, and Anton, what's his last name? Is it Pamchenko?
I think
his last name. Who's very Russian,
right?
And doesn't hide it a bit. Sorry, that wasn't a Russian accent, but
that was like a Muppet Russian.
Well, it was a Russian Muppet. It was better than an American Muppet. I'm going to do lots of accents, and they're going to be offensive and bad, and I'm sorry. You're just going to have to put up with it. So, anyway, Anton exposits that they've been through X number of partners, and no one is right. And, and here's where we have this. She's such a good skater, but always is coming the big B. And what a bitch. And her father is like, yep, you are right. You are correct, sir. I don't know.
Princess.
Yes. But as a typical rich guy, he's like, I don't know. That's quite a problem you have. You need to find a solution. And check, I am at bottom of barrel. And he just says, well, then you find another barrel, which is, that's how you know you're a rich guy, is you don't ever have to solve a problem. You just tell other people they have to work harder to solve it.
Yeah, man.
So
it's the dream.
Yes. So Anton shows up in Minnesota in Doug's backyard, where he is hanging upside down on a wooden frame, trying to hammer something. I don't know what he's doing.
The worst form.
Well, yes, I've heard
leverage.
lots of commentators online have pointed out that because of the way they put the shots together, like he's hammering the same nail for like the entire conversation, and it's not, And so he's like, hi, you're a skater, and I've watched film of you, and you're good, and would you like to be a figure skater? And Doug's like, what? Okay, well, I have nothing else going on, so let's see. So they go to Connecticut, where Kate has this entire ice facility, which they don't make a big deal of, but I think this is a huge thing to have your own rink. And Anton says, we have ice every day, which I think is rare. Mm-hmm. They have their own Zamboni in there, which is this is massive, and they have, again, not a meet cute, a meet hate, and she takes an instant disliking to him.
Yeah,
like from the second he walks in, and I don't really know what. Maybe it's you can tell that he's not wealthy, or because he's wearing jeans and a hockey jersey, which is and she hates him on sight, and he hates her on sight. But then Anton has another. He's like, you are going nowhere. Paris means two. Mouths to be closed, ears to be opened. And he's like, hey, you little ice bitch. No one's going to skate with you, so this is the end. And you, Mr. Believe me, Gretzky, I am the last person who comes looking for you. See, I'm telling you, this is all very quotable. I know all of it. Yeah. And he's basically like, listen, you have no other options, so make this work or get out of my sight. I don't care. So they're like, okay, we're going to do it. And they eventually get better and better. Lots of montages of, training and mishaps and et cetera, et cetera. They make their competitive debut together at nationals, and which is what's going to choose who represents the U.S. at the Olympics. So like this is almost as if you've never held elected office and the first thing you run for is the presidency. Like, who would expect anyone to do well there? That's ridiculous, right? But they do. And they make it to the Olympics because one of their competitions, who's a pair of twins who are skating basically in costume, and they have a mishap. And do you know what it is? Do you know how well do you know this movie?
We just watched it.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to take anything away from you.
You can.
Go ahead.
Okay. She gets her foot caught in his lederhosen, which, and it isn't actually all that dramatic of a fall, but because we've established up to that point that like we hate them and they're cutesy and they kind of suck, it's great to see them fall. And the commentator says, you know what this means. And at this point, we are pretty sure that Kate and Doug are not going to the Olympics because the judges just don't like them as well as they like the other ones, whatever. And it's not fair, but it is what it is. And they're backstage all glum. The commentator says, you know what this means? And they look to Anton and he says, we are in. And Doug yells and runs around and says, yeah, we're going to France. Parlez-vous Olympics. Which I really, really hope that there were people running around this past summer when the Summer Olympics were in Paris going Parlez-vous Olympics, because you really only get to say that every so often. Let's go. So why are you laughing at me?
No reason.
I just adore this movie so much. It's so fun.
Yes.
So this is when things take a turn, really. So for whatever reason, we've had this Chekhov's gun introduced earlier that Kate doesn't drink and has never had alcohol ever. But she decides that to celebrate, she wants to drink. So they go out dancing and they are doing, what do we call those? Body shots? Tequila shots? It's
Yeah, the shots.
the
Just tequila
salt.
shots. Yeah.
Okay, but
Yeah,
I thought there was
tequila
because
shots.
it's you put the salt, you lick your wrist and you put the salt on, and then you
Yeah.
do a lemon, and and it's all very complicated, and that's a lot of rigmarole to go through for tequila, which is not my favorite. But anyway, so she has 6 or 8 shots over the course of a night, and she's drunk enough to hit on Doug and want to sleep together, and he's like, "Not tonight, not like this." This whole time she's had a boyfriend who is technically, I looked it up, the actor is the same age as Doug, but is made to seem much, much older and British, which I think is probably doing a lot of work there. But she has just broken off the engagement for reasons. So she's like, "Oh, I'm free." And he's like, "Nope, we're not doing that." She's mad. She goes to bed. He goes back to his room. And then who shows up at his door but a rival skater who's coming with her 90s hair is all teased out and big, and she's holding a rose, and she just taps it on her chin, and she says, "You've got a great sit spin. I thought maybe we could trade secrets," which is clearly code for "let's bang." And he is the look on his face as he lets her in the room, he's clearly not into this. And I'm like, dude, you can say no, right?
Yeah.
You can say that would be inappropriate. We're competitors. That would be, I'm tired. I just jacked off. I don't have anything for you. You can say anything to say no, but he says none of these things. And we are spared whatever it is they do. But the next morning, Kate comes out of her room, is hungover, has lost her key, goes to knock on his door to get help getting in her room. And Laurie comes to the door tangled in bedsheets. And there's this great shot where Kate's got sunglasses on because, of course, that's code for hungover.
Yeah.
And she there's a close up on her eye, and she pulls her sunglasses down, and we see her eye, and it widens, and and we know oh, Kate's so horrified. She's putting it together, just And she goes in the elevator. He runs after her. He's in a towel. And there's all these business people in the lobby who are giggling at these, that's now things have gotten complicated because she admitted that she's interested in him, but now she can't, blah, 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 blah. So they go back. Now they're going to the Olympics. They need to step things up. Anton has been, we've seen him a couple times looking at these sheets of paper where there's a schematic of a skating move. And he finally is like, "Okay, listen, we're gonna skip the little problem of you guys, being whiny little brats and not getting along, and we're gonna go to the big problem of what do we do now." And he shows them the sketch that he have, and Kate says, "We can't do that. That's illegal." And then Anton has another line that I love: "Legano nil legano is gray area," which I have actually used in conversation, and the people who were meant to get it got it. And it was one of the highlights of my life. It was great.
Everyone cheered. They carried you out on their shoulders.
They slow clapped. Yeah. It was great. But Doug is like, "No, I can do this." And Kate says, "Are you saying I can't?" But so we see he's grown, right? He's grown in confidence. He can do all these things now, blah, blah. And then it's sort of an inverse of the training montages we had before, because at the beginning, Doug was falling all the time and not good at anything. And, and Kate was sort of enjoying seeing him fail. Well, now Kate's falling. He's not cruel to her, but he could be if he wanted to. Because what this is, and again, they don't spend a whole lot of time explaining the physics of it, which I kind of wish they would, because, and I've said this before about other, dance movies and sports movies and whatever. I couldn't do these things with my body if my life depended on it. So that's why these things are like catnip for me, because I love a movie about someone doing something that I never could. And I want to sort of understand, how do you even do that? How do you make your body do the thing? How do you learn to do it? I would have loved to see the process of training, So they're doing this, no padding, no safety harnesses, nothing. They're just dancing on ice. And if you fall, you hit whole cold hard ice. And no one ever breaks a bone or anything, but yeah. So I don't know how they get into this position, but he's spinning around and he's holding her by her ankles, and her head is inches from the ice.
Yeah.
He spins to get velocity, and then when she's at the top of the arc, he throws her, and somehow she doesn't keep going and like go through the roof. She lands on her feet, and he catches her, and that's the triumphant end of the program.
Well, she does like a twist.
Well, because she's spinning. Yeah.
Like she keeps doing a twist.
Yeah. Apparently, this is physically impossible. I found a blog post or an interview with the stunt doubles for this, and they were like, "Yeah, no, that's not how physics works." So, unsurprisingly, you don't see this whole thing in one shot because it's impossible to do. But you put it together. So they're having trouble with this, but it's time to go to the Olympics, so they go. They're still bickering. They have a fight right as they're walking onto the ice for their first program because he won't button his top button. And then we have another quotable exchange. "You are an immature asshole of the lowest order," because of course they're fighting about the button, but it's not really about the button. Right. Did you get that? And he says, "If it was 30 below and that button meant the difference between a cold, horrible death from hypothermia and a long, comfortable life, I still wouldn't give you the satisfaction. Now skate, blah, blah, blah." And then we have this fight in the dining room of the chalet that they've rented because there's no Olympic Village for these two because Jack Mosley has money and we're gonna
Yes, that's how this works.
Where it basically Kate's like, "I don't want any of this. I'm not happy. I'm sorry. I'm just blah, blah, blah." And it's one of these like you have to be, if you were not paying attention, you don't know what she's upset about. Like there's a lot of subtext that you've had to pick up on. And she decides that she is retiring after the final skate. They get to the rink for the final competition, and no one's feeling good about it. And it's clear that everyone else, like their competition, which is the Russian pair who is like the darlings, and Lori Pekarovsky, are doing well. And Anton has a very sweet moment with them. He says, "What I would like is if you two would go out there and just skate like I've seen you skate and enjoy each other. And that's it. And like, just basically just chill out." And he gives them both a kiss on the cheek, which is very sweet. And why Anton is one of my favorites, I think, because we have talked a lot over the years about the way that movies show toxic masculinity, but then also healthy masculinity, and for a movie in 1990, this kind of masculinity where somebody is physically strong or was at one point, but is also artistic and affectionate and is willing to, kiss another man on the cheek and is not made the butt of any jokes. I feel like that's rare and that's really nice to see. So that's why I adore Anton. Anyway, Doug finally says, "Kate, I have to tell you, I love you. I'm in love with you. Kate, I need you." And she's like, "Okay, let's do this move that we weren't going to do. That's very dangerous." And he says, What do you mean?" And they're going onto the ice while this happens. And she's like, "Nope, I'm in the mood to kick a little ass. Let's do it." And I'm thinking, that's how you kick ass, by deciding at the last minute to do a move that you hadn't practiced in a couple days and you weren't real sure of to begin with. Excellent. That sounds good to me. And they do it and they pull it off and everyone's happy. And she says, "I love you." And he says, "Remember who said it first." And they kiss and the credits roll and we assume they won the gold medal and everything's happy, because that's all it takes for a good relationship, is to risk your life with a dangerous ice skating move and to say, "I love you." And that's all. The end.
Yep.
There we go. Did I miss anything?
No. Think you got it all.
This is why you watch a movie like upwards of 24 times, so you can recount it with this much detail. Yeah. So yes, I have not given you all the great quotable lines, but like, do you see what I mean? There's a lot of just good ones.
There are.
My senior year in high school, I don't know how we got into this, but this guy that I sat next to in English class would every so often just bust out with a cutting edge line. And of course, I thought this was hilarious. And only like 15 years later did I realize, was that his way of flirting?
Yeah.
I don't know he also would like they were these desks that they had a bar across the front where like that would be right above your toes, and our desks were facing each other, and he would use his feet to pick up my desk, and so my desk is like on the back 2 legs, and I'm like levitating and for like that also I think was I don't know.
Yes, 100%.
Take it up a notch. Come on, here's where I'm
expecting a lot of a teen boy.
Well, he was expecting a lot of me. What was I supposed to do? Like, also,
Perhaps.
me in high school, I was never going to assume that anyone was actually flirting because no one ever was. And if I thought that they were, I was apt to get mocked. Like, but yeah. Teenagers, take it up a notch. Do more. Like, you think you're being obvious, you're really not. Like, yeah. Anyway.
Sure.
So, but also, yeah, quoting cutting edge lines, the way to my heart, because I remember this 30 years later.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let me look at my notes of the long things that. What is that word? I can't read.
Gotta put your
I have to
glasses
put my reading glasses on. This is terrible. Oh yes. Okay. So here's the thing that I noticed on this go around. So Kate and Doug have a sparring thing about where she insinuates that he's dumb and he, can you even read? Because he went to college on a hockey scholarship, and then when he couldn't play, remember he lost 18 degrees of peripheral vision in his right eye. When he couldn't play, he couldn't go to college anymore, which I think is actually pretty shitty of a college to do. But they didn't ask me. And then she gives him a copy of the book Great Expectations. Have you read that?
Probably not.
Okay.
I'm gonna say I'll just say no.
I read most of it, or in high school, I think, so a very long time ago. But I, for a long time, assumed that was a corollary, because in Great Expectations, this boy from humble circumstances ends up getting involved with an eccentric. In this case, it's a woman who, if you heard Miss Havisham, she got jilted and she wears her wedding dress all the time now, even though it was like 20 years ago. You've heard references to her. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so this eccentric older person and a young, rich, spoiled girl who treats him poorly. Mm-hmm. And throughout the book, I think their relationship changes, and by the end, I think they're together. So I thought, okay, this is clearly Great Expectations. But this time I went back and I looked a little bit more at the plot, and like there's so much in between. Mm-hmm. If this is an allusion to Great Expectations, that's really weak, and they could have done a whole lot more. And I've seen more references that this is more like Taming of the Shrew, which I haven't seen. I haven't seen Kiss Me Kate. I haven't seen 10 Things I Hate About You. I haven't seen any of these versions of it. But, a bitchy girl who's named Kate, like that seems to be all it takes to be about Taming of the Shrew. But I don't know if it's really either. I think they were just like, okay, sure, that's because why would you give someone Great Expectations if the movie is not trying to say, hey, this is what's going to happen?
I mean, that's it's just, weird. If you want to have her give him a book, then giving him one where there's some semblance of, also, you could say like this is an early indicator of her subconscious attraction.
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I don't especially want to read Great Expectations again, but I feel like I should, to see how similar the plot is. But I feel like there is not going to be much.
Yeah, I don't know that I would expect it to be much more than that surface level. Because that seems to be all they're really. They just want like people to go, oh yeah, we Great Expectations is oh yeah, got it. Yeah.
Which, for me at age 15 when this came out, I was like, oh, I get it. This is a very grown-up movie. It's got literary allusions. Ooh. Like, I am so smart. I get it. Sometimes it's just really all it takes. Just like with Newsies, I was like, oh, it's history. Oh, I'm very grown up to get this. Well, this theme of enemies to lovers and skating continued, because it took a long time, but they eventually made several sequels to this, and they were all like direct to video. And they're all pretty much the same. The second one is Doug and Kate stayed together and have a daughter who's named Jackie after her grandfather, and she was a single skater, and for some reason she needs to transition to pairs, and her I think it's a speed skater. It's something else, like someone has to transition to figure skating. And they don't get along, and then they do. And then the next one is, I think it's a female hockey player and a male figure skater, and Jackie is their coach. And then the next one, it's the female hockey player who's transitioned to figure skating and something else, and so it's just like, it's the same old stuff,
Yeah.
But sure.
I mean, it's tried and true formula.
Yeah, it worked the first time, it'll work the next 18 times. And I have watched, I think, 2 and 3. I don't think I've seen 4. They don't measure up in any way whatsoever. But
yeah,
if you want to watch a figure skating movie, sure, fine.
Yeah.
But
well, and speaking of related media, this is the point where I have to remind you that Paul Glazer also directed The Running Man.
Yes, I knew he had come up recently.
Yes. Also, he directed The Air Up There, which is a fun Billy Crystal movie from shortly after this.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was his next movie after this. Yeah, it's Billy Crystal goes to Africa and discovers an NBA prospect there.
Wow.
Yeah, and he also did.
Billy Crystal had a thing with basketball for a while, because I was thinking about it.
He was a huge basketball fan.
When I was the other day, I was thinking about that movie where he was a basketball ref.
Yeah,
it was him and Deborah Winger, and I don't even remember the story. It was, it's weird to think of Billy Crystal in a rom-com, even 30 years ago, because I don't think of him as rom-com material. But
I'm sorry, I will correct myself. I'm thinking about a different movie where he goes and finds a giant in Romania. This one is Kevin Bacon finding the player in Africa. Sorry, the movie is like My Giant, where Billy Crystal goes and finds a very tall basketball player.
Going to a developing country and stealing their talent to come here and make money for sports leagues. That sounds cool. That's
also Glazer famously directed the movie Kazam, which is the genie movie with Shaq,
which is not Shazam.
Which is the movie that never existed with Sinbad.
Okay,
as the genie.
Although, I need more movies with Sinbad in them. By the way, like that was when I watched A Different World when it was on, and I was a little young for it, but I watched it because of Denise Huxtable and then Sinbad. I thought Sinbad was pretty great. He was
really?
Like, I don't know how old I was when it came out, but like he was a grown man, but he was sort of cuddly and funny. Yeah, and so he was very safe. So I wouldn't say I had a crush on him, but I was like, okay, as men go, he'll do. I like that. He was like a combination of a dad and a peer at the same time. So yeah, more Sinbad, please. Unless, is he still acceptable? Has he done something?
I don't know. He's still around. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. He's still alive. Yeah. Like all I remember about Sinbad is First Kid and House Guest. I remember those are the two, and House Guest also has Phil Hartman in it. Wow. Those are the two Sinbad things that I remember.
Jeez. Okay. Anyway, back to The Cutting Edge. But so from the sequels, we know that Kate and Doug stay together and have a daughter, and Kate becomes a coach, and, et cetera, et cetera. But in real life, I don't think this works out at all.
Why not?
Well, as I've said before, I feel like rom-coms that end on an engagement or a declaration of love or whatever, I'm like, okay, that's the beginning. You haven't shown me at all that you can make a relationship work. Have you talked through problems? Have you, any of this stuff? And I don't see it happening.
I don't know. I think that they are alike in many ways and different in many important ways. I think that he doesn't take her crap. She doesn't take his. I don't know. I think it could work.
Well, so there's one thing, and again, like I want to know a little bit more about the inside figure skating stuff, like the mechanics, the physics, the secret sauce. How do you put partners together? How do you choreograph? How do you do all this stuff? Well, there's when Kate and her first partner, Brian, are competing at the first Olympics in 88. There's something where he's holding her up and her foot doesn't go in the right place and she falls.
Yeah.
And Doug gets a hold of a tape of this and we see him watching it over and over and kind of just fast forwarding to watch this one part again where like her foot seems to slip.
It's not her foot, but yeah.
Okay. Well, that's okay. It's never clear to a plebe like me what it is that, you know.
So it's the lift where the woman ends up over the man's head. He's got his arms extended. She also has her arms extended, pushing down on the man's hands, and then her legs are at 45-degree angles over his back.
Yeah.
You know, what they seem to be showing in that clip is that she doesn't fully straighten her arms, starts to lose her grip, puts her skate up to try to get leverage. That's the foot that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
But it's already gone by that point.
Yeah.
That she sabotaged herself. She wasn't or was the one who didn't do it. That, you know, her partner was giving her a firm base and she didn't support herself fully.
Yeah. Well, and that comes out at the end of this big dramatic thing in the dining room because Jack this whole time has been saying we can't find a good enough partner for her, indicating that she was perfect and the partner's failed.
Right.
Can't find the go-to guy. And Doug at the end finally is like, it's not a go-to guy you need, it's go-to girl.
Right.
And when Jack practically slaps him in the face with a glove, that'll be just about enough of that. Like, is that the most that you can do? Okay, fine.
But I mean, that's like, far be it from me, a guy who's only seen this movie like half a dozen times, but like that's part of the central idea of this movie, right?
Well,
she does not like skating.
Well, that's what
she never has.
Well, okay, so
well, I mean, she hasn't since she was 9, right? So she's self-sabotaging, and her dad has been coddling her, going right along with it, blaming the partners. We can't find a partner good enough. She doesn't like skating. She doesn't enjoy it the way that Doug does. Doug genuinely loves just being on the ice so much that he's even willing to transition from hockey to figure skating just to get to keep being on the ice and competing on the ice.
Yeah.
She doesn't like the competition. She doesn't like the actual act of skating. And it's mentioned several times, you know, that way.
Well, but I think though, what I was getting to is I think he's able to see the problem in her old routine and he's able to call her on that, which, like you're saying, like they don't take each other's crap.
Yeah.
And I think a good relationship of any kind, romantic, professional, whatever, this is both, you're able to both make each other better.
Yeah.
So he has that part. I'm not sure that she does, but
I think she does too, because early on in the movie, with the toe pick, she understands that challenging him is what he needs to get better, to the point that in the moment before they learn the move, he basically reverses that on her. That she spends their first initial interaction basically, to a certain extent, emasculating him. You know, she's this petite girl, he can't keep up. He's supposed to be this strong hockey man, skater, can't keep up, can't do it, doesn't understand how the equipment works. And she continuously challenges him and challenges his bravado in a way that causes him to push himself forward. Causes him to understand. She helps him understand the competition of skating and how he can, you know, he can find that competitive aspect that he's lost with hockey within skating.
I'm not sure that she is explicitly challenging him. I think she's just being a bitch about it. Like, right. I don't think she had the thought process of, this is how I get through to this guy, blah, 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 blah.
Whether or not it's explicit, that's what makes them perfect for each other. Because she's not necessarily doing it on purpose, but it's still exactly what he needs. You know, I mean, imagine having a partner who's just natural inclination to be kind of bitchy is exactly what you need to be a better version of yourself. So like they get to be rude and it makes you a better person. That's what makes them a good match.
Is that my appeal to you, is that I'm just kind of bitchy?
No.
I don't.
Not at all.
I'm not kind of. I think of myself as kind of
Not
bitchy
no,
sometimes,
not
but
really.
really,
No,
oh,
I
okay.
wouldn't
What?
say so.
Okay, I got to work on it then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I think so. Yeah. So yeah, the first minute we see him, he's with this girl whose name he doesn't know, and
yeah,
we see that like he likes to sleep around, and
yeah,
stuff. This movie is rated PG, by the way. There's
yeah.
a lot of sexual humor for PG.
Maybe I
I
don't
mean,
know. It was different back then. I mean, technically by now PG-13
yeah,
existed,
this seems PG-13
but
to me. But
you know,
anyway, um, but yeah, and I don't think she's been around men like that, and
yeah,
so which actually I kind of relate to that. Like you're she was never socialized to learn that you were supposed to be like, ha ha ha, you're so funny.
yeah,
Like she says something like, "Can you bathe more than once a week, please?" And he says, "Oh, is that an invitation?" Which
yeah,
you're supposed to be like, hee hee, honey, I'll clean this.
yeah.
And
Well,
she's just like, no, fuck off.
and she has probably never had a man quip back at her like that. I mean, that's why I
Mm-hmm.
say like the way that the way that they're portrayed, going toe to toe with each other.
Mm-hmm.
She can give him everything he can handle. He gives her everything she can handle. That's why I think the relationship ultimately works, because everywhere one has a deficiency, the other one has a strength, and everywhere that one needs to be put in their place, the other is almost naturally there to
Mm-hmm.
do that, and they can spar with each other just fine.
Maybe. I don't know. And this is my thing with every rom com. So after a while, like I know it gets tedious, but like I want to see the actual work that they put in to make the relationship work, because I don't think they've
You
done
want to
any of it.
see the most boring part of the
Well,
like, that's the thing. Like, these stories are not about that, right?
know,
Just
I
like they're
know.
not about giving you the fine details of the skating stuff. Like,
Okay.
I'm not saying
Well,
you're wrong to want more, but you want that from a different movie. Like, you
well,
literally
sure,
want
sure,
a movie that is dissecting the rom-com. Like,
sure,
a
sure,
movie that starts after the fade out,
sure.
you know,
Well,
which
yeah,
is a great idea. If no one
yeah.
has done that, we should write that movie.
You know what though? I'll tell you, as far as movies that have the inside of skating, you know what actually does that pretty well? It is called Ice Princess.
Okay.
And did you ever watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
The movie or the show?
The show.
A little bit.
Okay. Michelle Trachtenberg, who was Dawn on that show, I know nothing else about it because I never watched it, but she is this, she's like a nerd, and she's doing some kind of like AP project in physics, and she decides that she's going to do it on the physics of figure skating.
Uh-huh.
And then it ends up like, then she has to learn figure skating, and then she competes and blah, blah, blah. And her coach ends up being Kim Cattrall, who was Samantha on Sex and the City.
Nice.
And it's one of these, and her Samantha's daughter is Hayden Panettiere from Heroes, and this is one of those like, oh, my mom made me skate, I don't actually love it, blah, 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 whatever, one of the typical things. And Michelle Trachtenberg actually is good, but there's a little bit of like, oh, you need the centrifugal force to the and it's not all of the stuff of the inside of skating, but there's a little bit of that, which is kind of fun. I mean, like, it's a very Disney, middle school appropriate figure skating movie.
Yeah.
But that's a unique twist on it that I sort of enjoyed. Anyway, if you, like me, want the inside of how all these things work, watch that one. And you get to see Samantha as a mom in the suburbs, which is kind of funny. Anyway, so Kate hasn't come up against this kind of masculinity, the kind that Doug has at the beginning.
Sure.
Which leads me to, her dad did her a real disservice. I mean, like you mentioned it before, he coddled her, and he's got this empty trophy case with a spot for the Olympic gold medal that she's going to win, which has been there since she was probably 10, which is like, that is like number 1 in the book of how to fuck up your athletic child.
Oh, for sure.
And they drop these seeds about her mother was a show skater. Is that like Ice Capades and Disney on Ice? I don't know.
Yes, maybe.
And we don't know when she died. At some point, he says she was raised without a mother. So in childbirth, when she be, I don't know. But then they never pick it up. Like, oh no, at some point they have a picture of Kate skating with her mom when she was little, like 2 or 3 or something. So, but there's never anything like, I do this because my mom wanted me to, or I loved the time I spent with my mom, and now I realize that that's what I loved is my mom and not and so it feels like it's like a Chekhov's thing. Like, never picks it back up.
Yeah.
I don't really get it. But Jack, now that I think of it, is this textbook widower of like, I don't know how to raise a child, so I'm going to treat them like an employee.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Like, yeah, men, if you have a child and you lose your child's mother, y'all get into therapy, because there have been many fictional stories about how you fuck it up if you just go
Yes.
on your own. Like, you need help with this. And, women too, but especially men.
Oh, yeah.
I also think the part about, she's so clear about, I've never had a drop of alcohol in my life. And then she goes from 0 to 60 with these shots at the bar. Like, what's that about? Is that control, or I don't know. I feel like I want more about that.
I think that's his influence. That's, he's rough. He's, I think that is, again, she makes him a little more straight-laced. He's wearing suits, and
he definitely changes the way he dresses. Yeah.
And he makes her a little more unwound. Like, I think it's just, they are demonstrating the way that each person is contributing to the changing of the other into their better self.
Well, I don't know that 8 tequila shots in a night and you're hungover the next day is making you better, but
Sure.
To me, those both felt like dropped storylines. I was like, what did you intend with this? But,
I don't know. I think the mother thing is just there for flavor. I think it's just there to say that, she liked skating because her mom liked skating. Her mom died when she was young. Her dad didn't know what to do. He got her a coach, and the coach really made her hate skating over the course of like 10 years or whatever. And here we are now.
If only he had brought the Russian,
right,
it would have been different.
But the wall hadn't fell. The Soviet Union was still,
well, I think when they made this, the wall was still up.
Well, not the wall.
Remember.
I mean, the Soviet Union in general, right? Like,
speaking of
softened in the late 80s.
Speaking of Russians, there is something that I appreciate about this. So at this point, it was pretty standard to have the villain in your movie be Russian.
Sure.
If it's a thriller, if it's like a military thing, if it's spies, if it's, if it's sports, the Russians are always the bad guy. I like in this that the Russians clearly, like, they're good skaters. They seem to be enjoying what they do. They're not the bad guys. They're just someone else who does it well. Like,
I don't know, they're kind of the bad guys.
Well, but like, we don't see that. Like, they don't sabatage anybody. They're not mean.
No, they're not overtly.
Yeah,
but like they're very Russian. They're very like they are Drago style,
bleach blonde.
I must break you. Like,
actually, they're Canadian.
Yes,
those skaters
the
are
actual
Canadian. Yes.
skaters.
Yes,
but like the female skater has short,
that's
blonde
sort of Dorothy
hair,
Hamill cut.
Like, it is just they are very coded as the genetically superior Russians.
Well, yes, but they are framed differently than the American competition, Lori Pekarovsky, who is like sort of a man-eating slut type.
Sure.
And then her partner, who is Brian, Kate's old partner, who is like also kind of a man-eating slut.
Yeah. But
I appreciate though that, like, and Doug is clearly weirded out when he realizes like this gay guy is checking me out. But it's not, but that's it. Like, it's a joke, and there's no jokes about all the gay guys in figure skating, or there's very little for this time, which I appreciate.
Yeah, for the time, for sure.
Doug's going from hockey to figure skating, and his brother makes a joke about, are they going to make you shave your legs?
Yeah.
And then, haha, gotcha. And I was like, God, I don't understand it. That's okay. But like, clearly was not very serious about it. And then that's it.
Yeah.
And then he's fine. So there isn't a lot, like I said, we're talking about types of masculinity. We don't see a lot of this toxic masculinity that would say, oh, anyone who's a figure skater is less masculine, whatever.
Yeah,
we don't have that, which I appreciate. That's all.
Yeah, for real.
But I mean, I see what you mean about the Russians are the
villains.
I mean,
they're still clearly the bad guy, but they're not mustache twirling villains.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not sabotaging anything. They're whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. How old is Kate supposed to be?
Like 19, 20.
Yeah, because I was doing the math. Because at one point they talk about she was in junior pairs in 1982. And I'm guessing, like, are you 12 in 82? So she's like 18 at this first Olympics, and then
Sure.
And she's dating Hale, who has an MBA, which makes him at least 25.
Sure.
That's weird and gross.
Yeah, is it?
Yes.
I mean, because if so she, but by the time of the movie of the 90s, like, she's dating him in what, 90 for sure, when she's like
but like, and
19,
he
20.
works for her father, and it's just well,
Yeah, but that's like the perfect, like, that's exactly how these
and,
rich family things go. Like, he's looking to marry her off to someone who's gonna,
maybe.
provide and all this stuff.
I think
And Hale's looking to further his career, probably.
I think it's especially weird because she does not, and I know it was the 90s, and but she does not dress like an 18 to 22-year-old.
Sure.
She's like pearls all the time, blazers, her hair is in this like hot roller set, the turtlenecks under everything. I know that was just the 90s. We wore turtlenecks under everything.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like she seems on point for the style of the day.
I don't know. I think she's dressed in a good 10 years older than she is.
I don't know. I mean, I remember a lot of young girls dressing similar to her.
I don't know. I mean, like, listen, you know me. I was not. I was born at the age of 40. I didn't dress like that.
Sure.
Like, you have a day when you wear shorts and a t-shirt,
Yeah.
But
maybe.
I don't know. I guess it's more of her father does not really know how to raise a child.
Yeah.
He just knows how to raise
all
a mini
business.
adult.
I mean, like, again, it's just more character development. Like, this movie is thick with character development. Like, everything that every character does. Doug's attire, the fact that he's building a shanty out back of his brother's bar to live in, like, seemingly to live in. I mean, it's so much quick, easy. Like, we were talking about Hale being English. It's like, that's just a short hand for pretentious douchebag.
Yeah.
Like, the pencil thin mustache on her dad is just rich guy. Like, we talked about it yesterday. Like, that mustache is being groomed daily. Only rich people have the means to like straight razor trim a pencil thin mustache daily. Everything in this movie is about easy, quick shorthand. I think the fact that she dresses not very provocatively, not very like the popular styles of the day, and like the popular young styles of the day,
bangs, no perm, anything.
And the fact that she's dressing more adult, I think, is very, and she's engaged to be married to an older man. Like, it's all just easy screenwriter shorthand for what her character is, which is a rich, spoiled girl who was deprived a childhood, and here comes this man who is a perpetual adolescent who is going to teach her the fun of skating, the thing that she's been doing for so much longer than him, but has no idea how to enjoy or love. Like, I think this movie is simultaneously neck deep and ankle deep. Because a lot of the stuff that you're singling out, it's all just this easy shorthand for this girl stuck up. She's rich. She's acting mature beyond her years because she feels like she has to. Like, it's just all this like character stuff, from my perspective.
Well, and I guess, I don't know, I would love a version of this movie that fleshed a little bit more of that out.
Sure, but I mean, at a certain point, you just run out of time. I mean, like, you want more technical skating. You want more after the fade out. Like, you'd think, like, what?
You know what I want? I want a 10-part Netflix series.
Right, exactly.
About it.
Yeah.
Really, that is the answer to everything. Is a 10-part Netflix series with all these.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you are going through the classic thing of, like, when there's something that you really enjoy, you want more of it, and you after you watch something for so long, like, you wanna be more immersed in that world. You want answers to these different questions. Yeah, so like, I think it's natural.
Yeah. Well,
on some level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've then chewed this to death. We've melted the ice. I don't know. I can't think of an appropriate metaphor.
Pretty much. Can I just say, though, before we wrap it up?
Yes.
Moira Kelly, there was like 3 of her in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, she was this prototypical, like, there's a point, it's kind of like William Ragsdale and Zach
Oh,
Galligan.
yeah.
It's that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
It's like it's Mia Sara,
Mm-hmm.
Phoebe Cates, and her.
There was something in
Like,
this where I was like, she really looks like Phoebe Cates because we
yes.
just watched the Gremlins.
Yeah, she also really looks like Mia Sara in places.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the hair that does
Mhm.
the Phoebe Cates. It's the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like she has that very specific look. And I will say that at different times I would have told you that it's Mia Sara in this movie
Mm.
and not her, because like she is just interchangeable with
Yeah.
in that sort of William
Yeah.
Ragsdale, Zach Galligan kind of way, you know, like it, because I was trying to put my finger on when we were watching it again, like who does she look like?
Yeah.
And I was like, Phoebe Cates, yeah, but like that's too obvious. Like there's somebody else, and that was the other one that I came
Yeah.
up with.
A little bit of Lara Flynn Boyle and who Sherilyn Fenn from Twin Peaks, the brunettes in Twin Peaks.
Her for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a lot of like, insert XYZ
Brunette,
archetype here.
Yeah, petite brunette,
Yeah.
cute, like the all American. That's the word
Yeah.
I'm looking for. Cute all American girl.
One last fun fact, and then we'll wrap this up. You say petite. One tidbit that I got from the interview with the stunt doubles, because if you notice, you really only see these two skating from the neck or from the waist up.
Yes,
like
yes.
apparently they took lessons in skating and did as well as they could, but some stuff you just can't. So the stunt doubles were like actual competitive skaters. They had to put padding on the female because she was so petite that she didn't have, to get the chest up, right, to look like Moira Kelly. So if you think Moira Kelly is petite, actual skaters tinier.
Even more, yeah.
So, and that's why I'm not a skater. That's really the only reason.
It's the only reason, yeah. No, they always said you have the talent.
Yeah, just
you
too much of the other stuff.
You just have that Irish frame.
Yeah. I don't know about yes, I'm made to survive famines.
Right.
That's
It's that hardy Irish frame.
Right. We're going to have a famine where there's no food for 2 years and I'll still be alive at the end.
And then you'll become a skater.
Exactly. Anyway, yeah, this movie's a lot of fun. The soundtrack is great too, by the way. Yeah. It's an odd mix of music, but a lot of them are on my sort of Get Energy playlist because there's a lot of fun. So yes, check it out if you have not. If you haven't, what are you even doing? Are you even a Gen Xer if you haven't seen this?
Yeah, it's for especially females of a certain age. It is you have seen this movie if you are like
it is
35 to 45, 48 years old, kind of thing.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, you had to adjust and remember. Oh, she's 48.
Like, we'll say 50. Like if you're 35 to 50, you have probably seen this movie.
Yes. So, but we would love to know what you think about this. Are you seeing any of these drop storylines and healthy masculinity in here that I am, or have you only seen this 5 times, not 25 like me?
Whoa.
We would love to know what you think. You can get in touch with us in a couple different ways. You can send us an email, or you can find us on Facebook. Our handle's the same for both. It's YSMY Podcast, YSMY for You Show Me Yours. Send us an email at gmail.com or a DM on Facebook. And also on Facebook, you can find links to our latest episodes. We have new episodes every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, no matter when you're listening, there'll be a new one. Next time, Dave is hosting. And what are we watching next time, Dave?
Oh man, yeah, I left it as a game time decision. So how about we watch I'm going to keep it fun. Okay, let me ask you this. Do you want a dark dramatic movie or do you want a fun whimsical movie?
I don't think I can handle dark dramatic right now at this point in world history. I think I need fun and whimsical.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We will go for The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Oh, yeah. I definitely have not seen that. So, okay. Good.
That'll be a good one.
All right. Well, I know nothing about it except Terry Gilliam, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Well, then we'll see you next time with that and I'll find out what it is. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is uplifting electronic indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.